I had plastic surgery on December 5th, 2018. Not only was it unsuccessful, it was traumatizing.
I think that what I'm about to talk about may cause me to lose a few followers, and I really hope that that's not going to be the case and that you will listen to the entirety of what I'm going to say before you judge me if you like.
So, I want to talk to you today about something really important in terms of how rhinoplasties are operated. And I'm going to talk about open rhinoplasties because that's what I had initially and I regret it deeply.
These are some of the cosmetic procedures that I've had done that I completely regret. I swear they made me look a million times worse.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to do a video because I always said that I would be completely transparent and honest about my gastric sleeve experience, and I am not gonna lie, I have been feeling a lot of regret lately.
Before I developed a literal brain, I did so many stupid fucking things that could have gotten me literally killed or worse. I was just living with the fear of no consequence.
Hello everybody, welcome and welcome back to my channel. It's Cynthia here, and guys, in today's video we're going to be looking at beauty procedure regrets. Have you ever wanted to change something about your body so badly that you thought one procedure would solve everything? For millions of women, beauty and weight loss procedures promised a fresh start, more confidence, and the body they've always dreamed of. But for some, that dream turned into regrets. From nose jobs and liposuction to gastric sleeve surgery, some women are now saying, if I could go back in time, I would never have done it.
Where I'm just regretting everything. I wish I could go back in time and undo it, but unfortunately you can't.
Not because every procedure goes wrong, but because the reality didn't always match their expectations. So today we're looking at some of the most talked about procedures that women have shared regrets about and the reason behind their experiences. Now, before we begin, it's important to remember that plenty of people are happy with these procedures, okay? The experiences we'll discuss in this video are based on what some women have shared publicly. Now, obviously, everyone's outcome is different depending on their health, goals, surgeons, and recovery. Now, without wasting too much time, let's get right into this video.
I had plastic surgery on December 5th, 2018. Not only was it unsuccessful, it was traumatizing. Here's my story. The surgeon suggested that we perform the procedure in his office with numbing rather than in a hospital where we would have anesthesia. He suggested this because of the low amounts of fat deposits that would be taken, but also my tolerance for pain, because just prior to that, I had actually burnt my arm, and he was surprised that I was not in a condition to go to the hospital or anything like that. I let it heal itself. Little did I know that would be my first mistake. On the day of my surgery, the nurse noticed that my blood pressure was elevated. However, she wasn't too concerned given the fact that I was about to have surgery. I was given a release form and I glossed over it. That was another grave mistake. I was told that my husband could be with me during the surgery. However, the day of the procedure, they said that the room was too small and he had to go. Once I was transferred to the operating room, they realized that I was never given the opportunity to have a pre-appointment, which would have gone over everything with the procedure and also given me some sort of medication that would have allowed me to relax a little bit prior to the procedure. The numbing solution that they gave me was not working, and I could feel the blades slicing into my skin. This lasted for about 3 hours before I was finally numb. Not only was it extremely painful, but it delayed the procedure by several hours. The doctor made a snarky remark about my pain tolerance, and he even asked me what kind of review I would give him if I were to give him a review with everything that was happening to me right now. I thought, this guy has got to be joking. The whole procedure was to take 90 minutes. By the time I left the office that night, it was 5 hours long. That was just the beginning of the hell that I was about to endure. More in part two.
Oh my goodness. Honestly, where do we start from? The fact that she was told to have the procedure in his office rather than the hospital is just somehow to me. Now, let's quickly get right into part two before we talk about this whole thing.
For those of you who asked, the surgery was liposuction on my stomach and flanks. It took place on December 5th, 2018, and it was performed in central Pennsylvania in the surgeon's office with lidocaine rather than an outpatient clinic with general anesthesia. When I left the doctor's office that night, I was in excruciating pain. Getting into the car was a nightmare. My stomach was still numb, but my back was really killing me. The doctor gave me a script for oxycodone, which was supposed to be something I used once the numbing solution wore off in my stomach. Needless to say, sleep was not my friend that night. I slept on these big white gauze pads that help to absorb any fluid or blood from the surgery. I was very uncomfortable because if I tried to sleep on my side, I was in pain because of the flanks. If I tried to sleep on my back, I was in pain because, well, my back was hurting. And if I tried to sleep on my stomach, that wouldn't even have been an option. The next morning, December 6th, was probably the most painful and sad morning that I can recall. I remember waking up with the unrelenting pain in my back and then my stomach and flanks as well. I also felt really, really nauseous. I remember laying on the floor in my bedroom just crying because I was in so much pain, and my husband felt so helpless because he didn't know what to do for me. This is not at all what I expected. The doctor suggested that because I was in so much pain that I come into his office, but the thought of that was terrifying. I couldn't move without pain, so I couldn't think about getting dressed, going down the steps, going out the door, getting into the car, going to his office for an appointment. So he ended up calling me in a script for 5 milligrams of Valium, which was supposed to help me relax. It didn't do anything for me. December 7th, which was 2 days after the surgery, a friend came over and helped me make it to the doctor's office. The thing that stands out for me the most was how I was treated by the doctor and a member of his office staff, specifically because of the amount of back pain that I was experiencing. A comment was made that they didn't do back surgery, so why was I in excruciating pain with my back? The doctor made a comment about perhaps the reason I was feeling that way was because I was laying on my back for 5 hours all tensed up. He made an exaggerated tensed body pose, almost like someone being electrocuted, to represent how I was on the table that day. And a member of his staff said that's an understatement. I explained that the medicine that they gave me made me nauseated, and he said that's why they call it dope. On December 9th, 4 days after my surgery, some friends and family members encouraged me to go to urgent care. They were reluctant to treat me given the nature of my visit, but they did, however, give me an anti-inflammatory to try to help the back pain that I was experiencing. On December 11th, which was 6 days after my surgery, another friend took me to have my stitches removed. Once again, there was a sense of why am I feeling this much pain and discomfort. She mentioned, had I had something that helped me relax before surgery, perhaps this could have changed the outcome. I really don't know if it would have or not. I think there were a lot of decisions made here that in retrospect could have been made differently. On January 21st, 2019, which was 6.5 weeks after my initial surgery, I was scheduled for a post-op checkup. This is also where they do the after pictures. The results were not at all what I expected, which is in step with the whole experience. I would love to tell you more. Let me know if you want a part 3.
I don't know if it's just me, but her before picture was better than the after picture. And for goodness sake, in what world does a doctor judge someone's pain tolerance based off of the past experience, like burning? Even if. Anyway, Let's get right into part 3.
On December 5th, 2018, I had liposuction on my stomach and flanks. It was an in-office procedure rather than one where I was put under in an outpatient clinic. Some of you asked which pic was before and after, so I'm labeling them here. Today, I want to answer your questions regarding the physician and whether or not I decided to sue. I did do my research on the physician prior to surgery. He had several hundred reviews and an average of 4.9 stars. When I went to my initial consultation, I even liked him because he seemed to want to lower the cost for me by doing the procedure in office. A lawsuit was not on my radar. Frankly, I was embarrassed and I felt responsible because it was an elective surgery. There is a time limit to sue for medical malpractice in Pennsylvania, which is 2 years after you knew or reasonably knew that you had a medical error. So in August 2019, I decided to contact an attorney to determine whether or not I had a case. She read my documentation from my surgery and she suggested that I ask for my medical records from the office. So I went to the office and signed the release, and they had 30 days to send me the records, and they did. Their documentation was much different than mine. In fact, my lawyer said that you would think you were talking about 2 different surgeries when you read the descriptions. She said they clearly pulled a cover your ass move. There was a point in the procedure between my stomach and my flanks where I was given the opportunity to stop, and I told them to continue. I cried making that decision because I was already halfway done and I didn't want to have to come back and go through this hell again. I just wanted it over with. Had I chosen to stop then, or even sooner, perhaps the outcome would have been different. I did not pursue legal action for any type of financial gain. I just wanted to make sure that this did not happen to anyone else. After realizing my mistakes in surgery, I felt ashamed. I learned 3 things from all of this. First, don't trust a doctor just because they say so. While I did the research on the doctor and the procedure, I should have done more homework on the difference between the in-office and outpatient procedure. I think that would have changed the outcome. The surface area that was covered with my stomach and flanks was not conducive to an in-office procedure. Number 2, get a copy of the waiver in advance and read the fine print. It was careless for me to wait until the day of surgery for them to give me that and then gloss over it. Again, this goes back to number 1, not to have blind trust. Number 3, do what helps you feel better, but within reason. I am an advocate for women, and I believe that they should do what makes them feel good about themselves. And I think that surgery should be the last option. And I think that no one should have to endure the kind of pain that I did just for the sake of feeling better. I really wish I would have done something different. This experience has led me on a journey, and I hope that you'll continue to follow.
Where do we start from, honestly? Because this whole thing is sounding wrong. When she asked the hospital for records, they just gave a different thing. The lawyer said one would think she had different surgeries. Come on. Why? And those remarks they were making to her was really not necessary.
Before I developed a literal brain, I did so many stupid fucking things that could have gotten me literally killed or worse. I was just living with the fear of no consequence. One of those things was I went to Miami by myself, didn't tell anybody except my friend Kevin Brownlow, if you're watching this. If you don't know what a recovery house is, it's like a house full of people who are having surgery, but you're all staying at the same place and you have nurses who are watching over you. The people at mine were not even real nurses, so whatever. So my trip was booked for 3 nights. On the 4th morning, I was going to fly back home. So I did enough research of watching people's recovery videos on YouTube and stuff like that. So I thought, I have a high pain tolerance. So after surgery, I'm going to be straight. Everybody was getting their medicine and they were up walking around and everything was fine. After my surgery, my pain medicine wasn't ready for 5 hours. Everybody else had their pain medicine before they even had surgery, not me. So prior to having this surgery, I had only had 1 surgery, and that was a tonsillectomy. I got my tonsils taken out, and I remember them giving me like Valium or something to make me loopy before they put me to sleep. So I barely remember any of it. I remember them wheeling me in with a wheelchair, and then I was knocked out. But for this surgery, there was no anxiety medicine beforehand or anything like that. I was wide awake. They walked me into the operating room, made me sit on the bed or whatever, and then I laid out and they were strapping me down to the bed, putting like warm blankets on me and stuff like that. No words of comfort. So at that point, I'm shaking in my goddamn gown and socks because that's all I got on. So I remember closing my eyes and just being like, God, please, if I made a mistake, just let me wake up from the surgery so I can make it back home. And I opened my eyes. The anesthesiologist was staring right at me and he was like, take a few deep breaths. You're going to sleep. I was like, oh. I took one deep breath and I was like, oh my God, it burns. And I was gone. I was knocked out. The next thing I know, I'm opening my eyes and I start looking around like, I fucking made it. I made it. As soon as I realized I had made it through, the pain struck in immediately. Oh yeah. I wasn't even like laying down on a stretcher or a bed or anything like that recovering. I was in a wheelchair. I woke up in the wheelchair and I was in one of those little sectioned off rooms with the curtain. And I just remember being like, oh my God, this hurts so fucking bad. It was pain I've never experienced before. So then the nurse came in and she was like, your ride's here. And my ride was the driver that was driving for the recovery house. He drove in a van and he dropped everybody off at their appointments and stuff like that and then picked you up. So he was in a van. They wheeled me out and I remember just being like, I'm looking for the pedals that, or you know, like the feet stands that you put your feet on in a wheelchair. I was looking to put my feet on that, but I was loopy in and out. And then she was like, you don't have any feet pedals right there. Stop picking your feet up. I was still going in and out at this time because I just woke up from surgery, but I remember them grabbing me by the arms. They opened the back of the van. There was a mattress that was like lined with a sheet or something like that so blood wouldn't get everywhere. And I literally laid on my stomach on this mattress in the back of a van with a man that I barely knew who took me back to the recovery house. So the ride home was probably like 10 minutes. And I just remember like sleeping, waking up. And then we finally get to the recovery house. By this time, the medicine has worn off or the anesthesia has worn off. And I'm like, coming to. So I'm walking in the house and I can't stand up straight. I'm just like in that much pain around my stomach and back area. So for the next 5 hours, I will be in excruciating pain because my pain medicine was not ready at the pharmacy yet. So I get inside and they have me like some juice and some soup and crackers and stuff ready. So I do what I can with that. And then I go to sleep and then I wake up and I walk around and then I finally get my medicine and everything's manageable at that point. So the first 2 days pass by and I still can't stand up straight and I'm in excruciating pain and I cannot keep my fever down. The other people who had the same surgery as me were completely normal. What I tell you, completely fine. So I'm like, no, something ain't right. So that's when I decide I've got to extend my stay for another day or two because I cannot go home yet. Mind you, I have 2 drains in, I think. Actually, I think I had 2 drains on the front and maybe 2 drains on the back of my back. Which was weird because nobody else had that many. They maybe had like 1 set of drains. So I believe I reached day 5 at the recovery house and I can't keep my fever down. And I'm like, this isn't right. I think I have an infection. So I called the lady who was working at the recovery house overnight. She didn't speak any English. So I was like using Google Translate and I was just like, I'm hot. I can't keep my fever down. After this time, I didn't know that she wasn't a real nurse. So I'm saying, I think I need to go to the hospital to like get checked out or something like that. And she's like, no hospital. So I talked to the other girls there and we come to the conclusion, yes, hospital. So we call 911, they pull up, they come and get me, load me into the ambulance. We get there, I think it's at Hialeah Hospital, Hialeah, if you live in Miami and I said it wrong, excuse me. But there's stretchers everywhere, it's jam-packed. There's stretchers by the nurse's station, on the hall. So I'm on one of those stretchers in the middle of the hallway. They start running tests and stuff like that. And it's been hours, at least 5 hours have passed and it's the middle of the night at this point. And I asked one of the nurses, how much longer until my test results are back? And they say, oh, we're going to book you and you're going to be here overnight. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't bring anything with me, not even my phone charger. Mind you, I'm in a garment, a surgery garment called a faja. And they wouldn't let me take it off. They said, whatever you came in after having surgery, you're going to stay in that. I end up in the hospital for 5 days. Most of this time was we were just waiting on the cultures to come back to see what infection that I had. They said I had cellulitis like in my stomach region. But my surgeon would go on to say later that it was not cellulitis. And I, in fact, did not have an infection, which who knows? So I spent 5 days in the hospital in my faja that they would not let me take off and that the nurses refused to help me clean like the wounds or anything like that where my drains were. So they were getting infected. So the 6th day in the hospital comes around and I decide I'm leaving this motherfucker. The doctor had yet to see me after 5 nights. So on the 6th morning, they finally make their rounds. It was the doctor and he had a lot of students with him. I said, pack it up, take these IVs out. I'm going home. He was like, oh no, you still have an infection. You need to get your antibiotics, this and that. I said, what infection do I have? He said, I don't know. We're still waiting on the results. I said, give me that paper so I can discharge myself. I'm leaving. I'm unhooking myself from the IV at this point. So they bring the paper, I sign it, and I get up out of there. And I was fine after that. I got the antibiotics, so I guess, it did its job. But I left after that. I think I spent one more night in the recovery house, and I went home. I was living a double life at this point because my mom, I remember her texting me like, what are you doing each day? And I was just like, oh, nothing. The whole time I'm laid up in the fucking hospital. So if you ever think about having plastic surgery, don't go by yourself. Take somebody with you. Maybe don't stay in a recovery house, and do not ever go to name drop, New Life Plastic Surgery in Miami, Florida. Yeah, name drop. I won't forget how y'all tried to steal $5,000 from me for a procedure that I didn't have.
Wow, just wow. Throughout the whole story, I was like, girl, what? It was from one epic moment to another epic moment to
Hey everybody, I just wanted to do a video because I always said that I would be completely transparent and honest about my gastric sleeve experience, and I'm not gonna lie, I have been feeling a lot of regret lately and I have been struggling quite a bit. So let's get into it. Don't get me wrong, I am obviously very happy to be losing weight, but I have been struggling a lot. I feel like the gastric sleeve has genuinely sucked every single bit of happiness out of me. It sucked out all my energy. I'm so tired all the time. I'm so fatigued. I'm so malnourished to the point that I'm literally so weak that I just want to lie in bed all day. I'm constantly blacking out. I'm lightheaded. Just so fucking tired. So tired all the time. So weak. And I really, really, really miss my life before I had gastric sleeve. I researched the gastric sleeve for a good year and a half before I booked it, and I have been aware that you're going to have ups and downs, and your serotonin levels drop significantly, and so your depression can come back with a vengeance. I knew all of this. I knew it wasn't going to be an easy journey. It's definitely not an easy way out. The people say that it is. It's so mentally and physically hard. I just miss my old life. It's not a cure for your mental health, and I knew that. I see all the things I'm saying. I knew that before I went and got it done, and I knew that I would struggle, and I know that it's a roller coaster of emotions, and I'll feel a bit better maybe in a few months, and when I lose the weight I'll feel better or whatever. Well, I hope I will, but I just wanted to say that anybody thinking about getting it done, it is not a cure for your mental health. If you struggle with an eating disorder, it's not going to fix it. If anything, it makes it worse. I used to have I still have a binge eating disorder. I just physically can't binge anymore because I can't eat. So I'm miserable. The only thing that ever made me happy was food, and I can't have that anymore. And it's just really, really difficult. Part 2, because there's just not long enough.
let's get right into part 2.
Part 2. Look, I'm saying all this because I'm obviously going through a rough patch right now, and I might feel differently in a year post-op, and I might say, no, I don't regret it. It was worth it. Blah, blah, blah. Like, you're going to go through phases where you struggle. And that's just the phase that I'm in right now, where I'm just regretting everything. I wish I could go back in time and undo it, but unfortunately you can't. Anybody that's thinking about getting it done, please just think about it. If it's really, really worth, if weight in your body is worth your mental health, because weight honestly isn't everything, and I thought by losing it would make me happy, and it hasn't. Like, don't get me wrong, I am kind of like happy to have been losing the weight and whatever, but everything that goes along with it just feels like it's not worth it to me. I'm so just drained and tired and weak and hormonal. My mood swings are up and down. As sad as it sounds, food was the only thing that actually made me feel happy and brought me any kind of comfort. I clearly binged that as a way of dealing with my mental health, and I can't do that anymore, and I'm really struggling to find something else that I can use to cope with my mental health. If you have got an eating disorder, it isn't going to be fixed by getting the gastric sleeve. I thought, yeah, it's not going to be. I knew that it wouldn't, and I thought, look, I'll figure it out along the way, and that's clearly what I'm having to do. But I would recommend anybody just figuring out their mental health and their eating disorder before they go and get it done, because it's so hard when you can't turn to the one thing that you've done for years to make you happy and bring you any kind of comfort, and you just can't do it anymore. I'm literally at the point now where I wake up in the morning and I just can't wait to go back to bed at night. I can't wait for the day to be over, because I struggle so much every day that I just want to go back to bed and just sleep it through and wake up in a year when I've lost all the weight and I can finally eat proper portions again. Basically what I'm saying is weight isn't everything, and it's definitely not going to cure your demons by losing it. I thought that it would for me, and it just hasn't. And I know I'm only at the start of my journey, and like I said, I might feel differently in a year's time, but I'm just documenting my journey and how I'm feeling at the minute. And I just wanted to be honest, because people seem to glorify it a lot on social media, and I just want to be authentic and let you know that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's really hard sometimes. Another thing, my hair is literally coming out in clumps. I know that's all part of it because you're obviously malnourished. I knew all of this. I knew to expect all this, but it's hard. I feel so ugly. Even though I have lost weight, when I look in the mirror, I feel like I don't see a difference, and I just feel like the same person I was 3 months ago. Body dysmorphia is a real thing when it comes to losing weight with the gastric sleeve. You lose it so quickly, and your brain just can't catch up with the physical changes in your body. I just feel really alone, and I have nothing to help me with my mental health anymore, because food was what helped me. It is a very lonely time, and it's scary to even admit that you have any regrets, because people are like, oh, I told you so, I told you not to get it. Right, okay, well, I did, and yes, I am glad in ways, because it's helped me lose weight, which I struggled for years to do, but it is not easy. I don't know how many times I've said this is my third video, but it's just not easy. And please just do your research and make sure that you are mentally prepared for what you're going to go through, because I knew everything that was going to happen. I knew all this was going to happen. I just underestimated how hard it was going to be, and I'll get through it. You have no other choice but to get through it. But yeah, it's just, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is losing weight worth doing that to your body and your mental health? I don't know. Yeah. Even socially, you go out for food with people, you go to the cinema, you eat food, you meet up with your friends, your family for lunch, dinner, breakfast. Even when you go out for food, you have 2 bites and you're full. It's a waste of money, or you be sick because the food doesn't agree with you. It's just, your whole life changes. My social life before would have been going out for food, going out for drinks, going to the cinema. I can't do any of those things anymore. I'm just sitting at home going, oh, I need to get my protein in. 2 bites, you're full. I don't know. Just being honest.
The points she listed about how her social life has changed and how she misses her old life, I honestly feel for her, because now she's faced with a reality that she didn't think would happen. She just has to get used to it at the end of the day.
So, I want to talk to you today about something really important in terms of how rhinoplasties are operated. And I'm going to talk about open rhinoplasties because that's what I had initially and I regret it deeply. So, what happens in an open rhinoplasty is they cut through the columella and they lift the skin. Nobody ever tells you that any of this is irreversible. What they do is they cut the columellar arteries so your tip stops receiving blood. It only receives blood from the sides, which is fine if you're doing it for a primary, but this creates complications because there isn't enough blood going to your tip, and that's how people get necrosis. Also, the lymphatics, in that same layer, everything is cut off, which is why tips stay swollen for 18 months, and sometimes that swelling never goes away for some people, especially people who had like that very defined tip previously. Also, they cut through all the ligaments that are holding the structure of your tip, and these ligaments, they never heal again. It's irreversible. And because they cut everything that is natural and normal in a healthy nose, now they need to take the cartilage, harvest cartilage from your septum, slice it up into little pieces, shape it, and use it to create grafts to shape your nose and to hold your tip, which was held by ligaments, healthy ligaments that will never attach. So this is a structurally irreversible surgery. Do not let anyone tell you, oh, if you just do not like the results, you can have a revision. Revision surgeries are very, very expensive. Right now, if you're getting like a revision surgery with a reputable surgeon is anywhere between $25,000 to $75,000 US. So think very carefully about you deciding pursuing this surgery because it's a lot of it is quite irreversible, and unfortunately surgeons never really tell you that. My surgeon never told me he's putting grafts in my nose. If I knew my nose would be hard for the rest of my life, I would not have done this surgery because I played contact sports. So keep that in mind. Do not let the romanticism of the surgery on social media make you absent about like all the risks associated to it. I did not know any of that at the time when I did my surgery. There was no AI at the time. So just take advantage of the fact that there is a lot of information out on the internet and educate yourself about this before you make a decision that you might regret for the rest of your life.
I couldn't help but notice how hard it was for her to breathe. Kept on sounding like she was forcing herself to breathe. Oh my god. Permanent damage. She said the damage is permanent. I don't even know where to begin. Honestly, guys, what do you think? Because these things are too much for me.
I think that what I'm about to talk about may cause me to lose a few followers, and I really hope that that's not going to be the case, and that you will listen to the entirety of what I'm going to say before you judge me, if you like. So before I get into it, I'll just give you a little bit of backstory. I started puberty very, very late. I was 15 before I started my periods, and in terms of developing in any other way, very, very delayed. And for anybody that's grown up in the 80s, you'll know that kids, well, I would hope they're not as cruel these days, but growing up in the 80s, it could be a cruel place. For example, PE lessons, we had to shower in front of the whole year, including staff, and it was embarrassing, I'll be honest. I hated PE for that reason. That's probably one of the reasons I never liked sport at school, because I just found the whole situation humiliating. So going into my 20s, I wasn't too self-conscious about how I looked. I had very little up top, if you like, but I was happy. I had my two boys when I was 23 and 24, and I breastfed them both. And then come the age of 32, when I had my first daughter, at the time I thought she was going to be my last child, and I breastfed her for over a year. After that breastfeeding journey, what were initially very small breasts became just sort of like empty. I'm sorry if this doesn't sound very pleasant, but they were just sort of like empty, shriveled sacs and they were both very different sizes. One was small, the other one was pretty much non-existent. I think there was at least a full cup size difference between them. So at that time I made the decision to have breast implants. Now looking back at that decision, I think had it been now when I was making that decision, I wouldn't have chosen to do that. But I was a very different person back then. I had a different support network around me. I was isolated from family. We were living away from home. I was lacking in self-confidence. And yeah, that's what I decided to do. Now, I had it done at Bupa, and I don't really remember much of a conversation about this sort of like the longevity of the procedure that I was having, or basically what the future held for me. So like I say, I thought that that child would be my last child. As we all know, then went on to have Millie, and having the breast implants did not stop me at all from breastfeeding Millie, and actually I breastfed her for the longest out of all my children. We got to 2 years, which I'm really incredibly proud of. Having the breast implants has meant that everything still looks shipshape, if you like. They're a little bit dropped maybe from what they were when I had them done, but we're talking 17 years ago now. And it's something recently that's been of concern to me, shall we say. So just lately I've started to think about my own mortality, and I just want these things out of my body. Like I say, they've been in for 17 years now, and I don't remember anybody ever speaking to me about how long they would last or what problems I could encounter after they've been in my body for a certain length of time, but I'm just desperate to get them out. I know that when they do come out, I'm not going to look the same, but to be honest with you, like I say, I'm in a completely different place right now, and it's no longer the most important thing. I just can't help thinking to myself, what if I suffer some health problems or complications as a result of having this procedure, that I've done this to myself for the sake of vanity. And like I say, I just want them out. Now, obviously this is not something that's going to be covered by the NHS. It's going to cost a lot of money, and the thought of going through that operation again, it's another thing that I've got to, another risk I've got to take, going under general anaesthetic to rectify this situation of my own causing. You see so many younger people nowadays having breast implants. You only have to watch Love Island. I would think you would probably be in the minority if you had not had some kind of surgical procedure. But from my point of view now, I would just urge anybody that's thinking of having it done just to think about the long-term situation and whether this is something, what are you going to do after so many years? Are you going to put yourself through another operation? I don't want to put anything into my body now that's not natural. I won't have any Botox. I won't have any fillers. To me, it's just not worth the risk. Like I say, I want to be around, to live to as long as I can, to be there for Millie, and anything that jeopardises that, it's a big no from me. So if you've got this far, thank you so much, and I hope you won't judge me too much, but it's important for me that I am always honest with people and authentic, and share the good, the bad and the ugly, really. And this is not something that I've been hiding because nobody's ever asked me. It's not something I've ever spoke about, really. But what this was leading up to is maybe I could use the money that I'm making from TikTok to sort of fund this. I've got to do a little bit more research. It seems to be much more expensive to have them taken out than it is to have them put in, believe it or not. Most people that have implants removed tend to generally have a new pair put in, or they have some kind of lifting and tightening procedure at the same time. I'm not interested in any of that. I literally just want them removed from my body and stitching back up, if you like.
She said something that a lot of people don't talk about. It's cheaper to get them done than get them taken out. You spend more money rectifying the surgery than getting it done, which is, in my own opinion, not fair. A lot of people get these surgeries done not knowing that once they're tired of it and once it's revised or rectified, they tend to pay more. Now, if they cannot afford it, they are left with that decision for as long as they can. But oh, she's had implants for more than 17 years. That's a long time, almost 20 years. And I believe somebody said somewhere that implants, breast implants actually, should be in for like 10 years. Hers has passed the 10-year mark. Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I just heard someone say it sometime. I mean, 17 years is a long time if you ask me.
These are some of the cosmetic procedures that I've had done that I completely regret. I swear they made me look a million times worse. And anytime anybody asks me about these, I have to warn them. I'm very honest about the cosmetic procedures that I've had done that I do love. Filler, Botox, breast augmentation, and more recently, veneers. Which brings me to the first thing and probably the biggest regret of mine. That is composite bonding on my teeth. I got this done when I was only 15 years old and I honestly didn't know much about it. And I also did this instead of braces, and looking back on it, I really wish I would have just gone the braces route because this caused a lot of issues for like the next 14 years of my life. Basically, composite bonding is like an added material that they add onto your teeth. So it's temporary, it's not permanent like veneers. I did really like it for the first 2 years. After that, they discolor so bad, they chip so easily, and you're supposed to get them done every 7 years. So even though it's a cheaper alternative to veneers, the amount of money that I spent fixing them from being chipped, discolored, it was miserable and honestly the biggest waste of time and money. I smiled up close, like you could see all of the discoloration. It looked horrible. So I finally got veneers last year and it was like the best thing I could have done for myself, and I'm so happy with how they turned out. This next one I know is actually super popular and I know a lot of people get it done and really like it. I personally didn't like the way it looked, and I didn't get it done initially for cosmetic purposes. I clenched my jaw really bad, so I tried out Master Botox. It definitely helped the jaw clenching a lot. However, it made my face super narrow. I got this done like 5 years ago and it honestly looked like it aged my face like 5 years. I lost all jaw definition. It just did not look good at all. And I never did it again after that. Now I just religiously wear my night guard every single night. The last one, back in the day when I was new to getting lip filler, I really wasn't being picky with my injector whatsoever. Like looking back on it, I was really just letting whoever inject my lips and I wasn't being super picky about it. I ended up getting these massive lumps in my lips that were like rock hard. I couldn't even go like that. It was so painful. So when I found my current injector, we had to just completely start over. We dissolved everything. That was a good learning experience for me. And honestly, I'm super happy with my lips now and how they are. So lip filler itself, I do love. I just think you need to be a little bit careful with who is doing it.
Composite bonding, Botox, or was it fillers? She said. You know, we've actually seen so many regrets about lip fillers and the lumpiness, how they make the mouth different shape. It just boils down to show that people need to be careful out there. But yes, guys, beauty trends come and go, but your body stays with you. That's why it's important to take your time, understand the risks and recovery, and make decisions based on your goals and not social media pressure. But yes, guys, let me know in the comment section what y'all think about this. If you've had any kind of surgery done, let's know in the comments what your experience is. I look forward to seeing your comments. And yes, beautiful people, I have come to the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, do not forget to give the video a fat thumbs up. If you are not subscribed, consider subscribing. And I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!